I just ground up a bunch of graham crackers, and I'm gonna make a simple graham cracker crust, which all key lime pies have. So I'm just pouring in some butter, melted salted butter, and I'll stir the crumbs until they're totally coated in the butter. And the butter is for flavor, but it's also to kind of make the crumbs come together in a crust. All right, so I have a 9 by 13 inch pan, and I lined it with foil and sprayed the foil with nonstick spray. So I'll put the crumbs in, and then the best way to get it into the pan is just to use your hands. And you kind of want to pack it down so that when you eventually slice the cheesecake bars, the crust will stay put and won't crumble all over the place. Okay, what I love about this recipe is that the crust and the filling are both made in the food processor, which just makes things a lot easier. So, of course, 3 big old blocks of cream cheese.
Oh my God.
And then sour cream. It's a pretty classic mixture. 4 eggs. And half a cup of lime juice. Key limes have a really specific, scrumptious lime flavor, but I just can't find the juice very often. Almost forgot the sugar. We don't want to do that. 1.5 cups of sugar. Oh my gosh. Did I mention this is a dessert? And then I'm gonna let the food processor totally mix this up. That sounds done right there. This is going to derail my healthy eating plan. And then, as you guessed it, oh look, there was a nice little bonus chunk of cream cheese. Oh, I want that piece. That's gonna be my piece. Okay, so you do want to kind of smooth it so the cheesecake doesn't bake crookedly. So it's gonna go into a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. And you can see that I have a dish of water in the oven, which makes it sort of a moist environment. So I'm gonna bake it for 45 minutes, and then I'll turn the oven off, let it stay in there for 10 more minutes, and then I'll crack the oven door and let it stay in for 10 more minutes. It's a process. Then I'll cool it and chill it, but magic of television. I've already got a pan that's been chilling.
Wow.
Look how beautiful that bakes. Look at that. You can just kind of peel the foil back, and then you don't have to kind of navigate the pan when you're slicing it. All right, I'm gonna get these sliced into squares. Okay, now I'm gonna get them onto a pretty cake stand. I may not have enough room. I don't wanna stack these, of course. There's a gap, we can't have that. Got a few left over here, but here's what makes things really pretty. And you can do this in the pan if you wanna do like a heavier coat, but you wanna come in here and watch this? I like to give it a nice little snowy covering of powdered sugar. And then some lime zest. Just look how pretty it looks when it falls on there.
Wow.
It makes all the difference just to have that little hint of lime zest. All right. Glorious. Key lime pie cheesecake bars. So I'm making the cheesecake mixture, and it started with 4 blocks of cream cheese, bunch of sugar, and I'm just kind of incorporating everything gradually as I go. I incorporated some flour and salt, and now I'm gonna start adding the eggs. I have 5 whole eggs and 1 additional egg yolk, and I'll just kind of bloop, add them in gradually. These are pretty eggs, by the way. Okay, that's the end of the eggs. A little splash of vanilla. And then I'm gonna add a whole bunch of heavy cream.
Oh, wow.
While I mix. All right, I'm gonna give the bowl just a little bit of a scrape and then give it one more mix. Okay, so for the pan, I've got a regular springform pan, and I just kind of laid parchment in there and pressed it into form. And here's the magic, guys. There's no crust in the pan at all. You just go right in with the cheesecake batter. It's gonna bake at 400 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes. And trust me, that thing is gonna get burned in a delicious way. So let's go back to the counter. And I am going to top the baked cheesecake with macerated berries. So I've got some halved blackberries. I just cut them in half. Lemon juice. And some lemon zest. Got a couple seeds in there, but that's okay. Bing! Sugar. And I'll stir these up. I'm doing them now because I want them to sit in the fridge and get really juicy and just syrupy and wonderful. And you'll see why later when I serve this with the cheesecake. This is what it looks like now.
Very sugary.
Just wait till we see it later. I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap and then come with me to the fridge. I'm just gonna let these sit in the fridge and get syrupy and sticky. And by the time the cheesecake is out of the oven and cooled, they'll be ready. Look, Alex, look at the cheesecake. Doesn't that look amazing?
It looks like chocolate.
It does look like chocolate. It's not burned at all. It's just very deeply caramelized. It's a dark, dark brown. And then, as promised, check out the berries and how syrupy and thick they are. And this can only happen if you really give them time to sit and macerate. All right, so let's get this cheesecake out of the pan. See what kind of chaos we created here. Okay? And that's the beauty of a springform pan. So I'm gonna get a nice slice.
Wow.
Wow, look how pretty it is.
Perfect.
It really is. How did that happen? There was almost no effort involved, just mixing.
Wow.
Wow, this looks good. And then, here go the berries. Ready?
Ooh.
Oh, baby.
Hi. Hello. Mmm. Basque cheesecake, also known as burnt cheesecake. Wow. Crust who? I am never making crust on a cheesecake again. I'm ready to tackle the next item on my Thanksgiving checklist, pumpkin ginger snap cheesecake. I'm just gonna make the crust first. I've got a package of ginger snaps, and I'm gonna let the food processor grind them up. I want to get them really fine. Okay, the crumbs look perfect. Oh, I love the smell of ginger snaps. I'll add some brown sugar and some chopped pecans. I chopped them pretty fine. And a dash of salt. There's a lot of sweetness in here. I'll just stir this together and mix it up. To bring the crust all together, I'll drizzle in some melted butter. This is about 6 tablespoons of butter, not too much. You just want enough to make the crumbs come together. All right, the crumbs look delicious. So I'll just dump them into a springform pan. And then I'll just use my fingers to press it into the bottom of the pan. And I want to bring the crumbs up along the sides of the pan by about 1/2 inch. Before I pour the filling into the crust, I'm just going to chill it for about 30 minutes. So while the crust chills, I'm going to go whip up the delicious filling. So I'm just going to get a whole bunch of cream cheese into the mixer and beat it until it's soft, scraping the bowl once. I'll add a can of pumpkin puree and mix that in, scraping it again. Then I'll add 3 eggs one at a time. That's the first, the second, and the third. Okay, now it's in with sour cream. And next, with the mixer on low, I'm gonna add sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. I'll really scrape the bowl before giving it all one final mix. Okay, that's done. Ready for the next step. The crust should be all set. Yep, looks good. Now I'm just gonna pour this luscious filling right in. This stuff is divine, delightful, all the adjectives that begin with D that I can think of. I'll just spread this into a single layer. Lad dropped me off and he actually has to go back out there and work a little bit. I'm sure he won't get as much done without me helping him, but he'll get by. All right, the cheesecake just needs to go into a 350-degree oven for about 50 minutes. Now, while the cheesecake bakes, I'm gonna whip up a delicious salted caramel sauce to drizzle over the top. Not only is it yummy on the cheesecake, but it's also good to drizzle over all the other pies that people are bringing. It's so easy to whip up. Here goes. I just get some butter into a pan, along with brown sugar, heavy cream, vanilla, and some salt. Then I'll gently whisk it for 5 minutes or so, just until it thickens. Now I'll just get the sauce into a jar. Oh, look at that sauce. So thick and rich. Dessert tomorrow can't come soon enough for me. Now this is the moment that the cheesecake gets freed from its pan. I put it on a cake stand and it goes on the island. And let's just pause for one small second for a dessert fantasy. The recipe I'm about to make is absolutely ridiculous in a very delicious way. It's deep-fried cheesecake bites. I'm gonna serve them with a strawberry dipping sauce. I mean, what is the world coming to? Well, I'm getting ready to show you. I'm making the cheesecake mixture now. I've got some cream cheese and sugar in the mixer, and I'm adding some graham cracker crumbs, and for some yummy flavor, a splash of vanilla. And I'll let the mixer turn this into a nice, smooth mix. Okay, that is all mixed and smooth. Oh gosh, that smells good. Now I'm gonna use the scoop to get one bite done. And now I've just gotta do the rest. I'm gonna put these into the freezer for about 30 minutes so they'll firm up, and then I'll batter them and fry them. So while they're in there, I'm gonna go make the batter. The batter's really easy. It's just all-purpose flour, baking powder, kosher salt, and some sugar whisked together with some whole milk. When it's smooth, it's all done. So I'll just get the cheesecake bites out of the freezer and I'll be all ready to batter them. These little guys are nice and firm. So now it's on to the final step. I'm just gonna take a few of the cheesecake bites and drop them into this batter. I'll use a spoon to cover them. This is pretty much like a pancake batter. And when they're all coated, I'll grab them and just drop them into the hot oil. I wanna work fast because these will fry pretty quickly. Okay, these are gonna cook for about 2 to 3 minutes until they're golden brown. Then I'll take them out to drain, fry the rest, and get them all onto the serving platter. What could be better to serve with these cheesecake bites than a sweet strawberry sauce? I made a batch and it was so simple. I just took 16 ounces of strawberries and put them in a saucepan with lemon juice. Added 4 tablespoons of sugar. I just cooked them down and then strained them through a fine mesh sieve. Oh, how pretty. The color is beautiful and oh, is this gonna be good. I'm making a batch of salted caramel cheesecake squares. Of course, I have to start with dessert. It's the best part. I'm starting by making the crust. It's just a regular graham cracker crust, really tasty. I put in 2 sleeves of graham crackers, and I will add some pecans to give it a nice nutty flavor. And the lid goes on, and I'll pulse it just to break them up. to moisten up the crumbs, I've got a little melted butter, and I'll pulse it while it goes in. And for extra yumminess, a little splash of vanilla. Pulse it all in. Now this goes into a buttered pan. I lined it with foil just to make it easy for the squares to come out when they're done. I like a generous crust with my cheesecake, and this is exactly that. It's gonna be nice and thick. I wanna firm it into the bottom of the pan. The crust looks great, it's all packed in there. So now I'll start on the cheesecake filling. I have 3 blocks of cream cheese. It's been softening. And I'll add 1.5 cups of sugar and let this start mixing together. This is looking great. Now I have 4 eggs that I cracked into a pitcher, and I'll drop them in one at a time just to give each egg a chance to mix in. Okay, that's looking great. Now a splash of vanilla. And the last thing, and I'll just add it while the mixer is going, 1/2 cup of sour cream. This is a fantastic cheesecake recipe. I use it all the time. I'll turn up the mixer just to get it nice and smooth for a few seconds. That looks perfect. Can't promise I'm not gonna lick the bowl. It just looks too good. Get it all smoothed out into the corners. Look at this luscious mixture. The cheesecake goes into a 350-degree oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. And after that time, I'll turn off the oven and open the door for another 10 minutes. And after that, it goes into the fridge. All right, the cheesecake is baked and cooled. It looks amazing. And now it's time to pour on the caramel topping. I poured a can of sweetened condensed milk into a pan. This is the secret to foolproof caramel. Then added dark brown sugar, salted butter, some dark corn syrup, a little vanilla extract, and stirred the mixture until the butter had melted, the sugar had dissolved, and the whole thing had come to a boil. Then I attached a candy thermometer and boiled the caramel, stirring constantly until it reached 225 degrees. Then the heat went off. I let the sauce cool for about 5 minutes, and now I'll pour it all over the surface of the cheesecake. Oh boy, how good does this look? Now the pan goes back into the fridge, and then before I go to the building, I'll cut the cheesecake into squares and I'll sprinkle them with salt. I'm making Blackberry cheesecake squares. Who doesn't love cheesecake? I'll start by making the cheesecake crust. I'm using a package of vanilla wafers for the cheesecake crust. A lot of times I use graham cracker crumbs, but there's just something about vanilla wafers. They're a little bit sweeter, a little bit more of a treat, and they make a delicious crust. I'm just adding about 1/2 cup of pecans. I love the flavor of the pecans and the vanilla wafers. Okay, then I'll just crush these up. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm gonna pulse the machine while I drizzle in a stick of melted butter. This will just help the crust come together. Okay, that's just right. Now I have a pan that I lined in foil and then sprayed the foil with nonstick baking spray. Now I'll just grab the crumbs and just pour them right in the pan. They smell so good. I could just grab a spoon right now and eat it as a snack. Okay, now I'll just use my hands to press it evenly all over the surface of the pan. The crust is all ready. Now I'll move on to the filling. And that's 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. They've been out for a little bit, so they're pretty soft. Usually when I make cheesecake, I make them in regular round spring-form pans. But for potluck, I always think that things should be in neat squares so when people go through the line, they can easily serve themselves. Okay, and then I'll add 1.5 cups of sugar, cream cheese and sugar. What a combination. Okay, and then I'll just splash in about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And then I'll just whip this till it's really fluffy. So I'm gonna crack in 4 eggs. Okay, just keep going. 3rd egg. Last egg. All right, now I have a package of sour cream. I'll add 4 ounces, otherwise known as half a cup. Just plop it right in there. That looks absolutely beautiful. Oh, so creamy and delicious. I get to lick the bowl, as usual. I definitely need a spatula. I don't want any of this to go to waste. Oh my goodness, who invented cheesecake? I think they should be sainted. All right, I just get all of that in there. Goodness gracious. One of the most beautiful sights in the world. Okay, I'll just spread it out so it's in a nice even layer on top. All right, now I'm just gonna bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. I topped the cheesecake with this beautiful blackberry topping. I'll tell you how I made it. So I threw a pile of plump, ripe blackberries into a pan with sugar and water. Then I brought it to a boil and simmered it for 4 or 5 minutes. Then, to thicken it slightly, I mixed up a slurry of cornstarch and water and stirred it into the blackberry mixture. Then I boiled it for another minute or so, and when it was cooled, I poured it over the cheesecake and popped it into the fridge to set. I'm hoping the foil will just lift the cheesecake right out, and it worked. I love it when that happens. And then I'll just cut it into really neat squares. I've got a really sharp serrated knife, and that makes it easy to slice through the blackberries on top. The other benefit to cutting the cheesecake into squares and putting it on a platter is that sometimes you can sneak a piece and no one will ever know. All right, all cut into squares. Now I'll just take the squares and get them on the platter.